We have warned for years that Donald Trump is destroying American institutions, but of course, when we said destroying, we meant metaphorically speaking. We didn't mean he was literally destroying buildings, but I guess Trump heard that and said, on it. Because now he's literally demolishing the East Wing of the White House. This is like if I said he was metaphorically on Americans from an airplane and what? Whatever you're telling me, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. You might recall that in the run-up to the No Kings protests, Republicans were warning that America was about to turn into the purge.
They're going to descend on our Capitol for their much-anticipated so-called No Kings rally. We refer to it by its more accurate description, the Hate America rally. You're going to bring together the Marxists, the socialists, the Antifa advocates, the anarchists, and the pro-Hamas wing of the far-left Democrat Party.
This crazy No Kings rally this weekend, which is going to be the farthest left, the hardest core, the most unhinged in the Democratic Party.
I mean, take hardest core with a grain of salt when it's coming from Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Dude probably thinks there should be a parental advisory sticker on the Frozen soundtrack. Until they make it clear that it she's singing about isn't her virginity, I'd rather not hear a song about letting it go. So let's see these hardcore Antifa terrorists in action.
Nearly 7 million demonstrators gathered in several cities across the country to protest against President Donald Trump and his policies.
Look at this. Millions of people across the country marching as we speak against the policies of President Trump. This is Boston.
Police from San Diego, California to Austin, Texas, thanked them for carrying out peaceful and respectful rallies.
Because Portland is Portland, where every year they hold a naked bike ride. This weekend they did an extra one. They held what they called an emergency naked bike ride.
An emergency naked bike ride sounds like something you have to do when the husband of the woman you're sleeping with comes home early. You gotta get out of here, Rick. How? Take a bike from the garage. What about my clothes? You don't have time. Oh my God. Also, note that the Boston police weren't listed as one of the police departments who said thank you. I mean, Boston cops say thanks all the time. They just do it sarcastically, you know, like, hey, Sully, we can't thank you enough. We were sitting around the station just twiddling our thumbs, wishing we had something to do. And then you had the courtesy to get so drunk your grandma had to call us again. I say this with gratitude. You're a prince, Sully. But my favorite example of right-wing media trying to make peaceful protesters out to be hardcore Antifa terrorists came, of course, from the GOAT, Fox News.
At least 2,600 No Kings protests were scheduled for today, and that's up from 1,800 that they held back in June. And well, things got pretty crazy out there.
Oh my God, not Woody Guthrie, the original Antifa super soldier. My favorite part of that clip is the chyron Fox News put up over the old people singing folk songs. It says chaos across the country. In fact, they brought something even worse than a weapon. They brought a banjo. A banjo. The point is, Republicans predicted chaos. Then after the protest turned out to be both historic and peaceful, they changed their tune.
The crowd, made largely up of what many are saying are gray hairs, boomers, and nothing wrong with that, but it does paint a little bit of a picture of the people that are calling themselves Grantifa. As tempting as it is to laugh at these theater kids, we shouldn't laugh it off and we shouldn't hand wave.
Fox on old people is like if Nickelodeon unveiled a new slogan that said, kids are annoying as I thought you said there were going to be Antifa Hamas terrorists. Now they're gray hairs and theater kids. And I just want to say real quick, as someone who spent decades in the entertainment community, don't come for theater kids. They love attention. They know every word to Les Mis. And until Tech Week starts for the Winter Talent Show, they are available to come for your ass. But it turns out what really offended Republicans wasn't the threat of chaos. It was the implication that Trump is acting like a king.
They're referring to me as a king. I'm not a king.
Right. He's not acting like a king.
If he was a king, he probably would have never left the office the first time.
Trump's no king. If Trump was a king, you wouldn't have had a rally.
If President Trump was a king, he would have closed the national parks and the National Mall, so they couldn't have had the rally out here.
That's not the brag you guys think it is. If he were a king, If he were king, it would have banned the rally. Believe me, he wanted to. This guy hates the First Amendment. The other day, he tore up the Constitution right in front of us, and he said, "There, no more free speech." And we said, had to tell him, "Sir, that's just a copy." And he said, "How many copies are there?" And we said, "Well, you know, it's all over the internet." And he said, "Can we shut it down?" And we said, "The internet?" And he said, "Yeah, can we shut down the internet?" And we said, "But you use the internet, sir." And he said, "Name one time." And we said, "When you posted the AI video of you in the plane." And he said, "That wasn't AI." He said, "That wasn't AI. I did that." And then everyone, you know, we all got real quiet for like 15 minutes, you know. Anyway, the point is, he's not a king. But you guys, they're right. Trump is not a king. A king is someone who presumes the power to do whatever they want without consulting anyone else, someone who treats public property and the resources of the state as their own, someone who surrounds themselves with lavish appointments and gilded furnishings and the trappings of wealth and power. And I just realized where this is going.
Tonight, Americans are getting their first look at demolition underway at the White House. Work crews making room for President Trump's $250 million ballroom.
Parts of the East Wing are being torn down to make room for the president's personal project, a 90,000 square foot ballroom.
The backhoe ripping through the structure. Sounds of construction could be heard across the White House campus.
We're building a world-class ballroom. You know, for 150 years, they've wanted a ballroom here. We don't have a ballroom. You probably hear the beautiful sound of construction to the back. You hear that sound? Oh, that's music to my ears. I love that sound. Other people don't like it. I love it, Josh. I think when I hear that sound, it reminds me of money.
You know, I had to take issue with this thing Trump keeps saying that presidents have wanted a ballroom for 150 years. I don't remember JFK ever saying, "Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask how you can build a ballroom for your country." This is insane. I mean, look at this. This looks like a scene from an apocalyptic disaster movie. This is the first thing aliens do in movies to announce they're evil. They blow up the White House. Trump is just cutting out the middleman of invading aliens. "We used to need the aliens to come, but not anymore. We're doing it ourselves. And the aliens are very upset about it. An alien came up to me the other day, big alien, strong alien. Tears, green tears running down his face, and then hitting the ground and burning through the floor because they're acid tears. Yeah. And he said to me, 'Take me to your leader.' And I said, 'I'm your leader, and also don't tell anyone. I'm a king.'" As far as I know, no one was consulted about this. No one approved of this. Congress certainly didn't get a say. The White House isn't Trump's. It's supposed to be ours. But the same people who insist Trump isn't an authoritarian are now applauding Trump's display of authority.
I feel that this president, for once, has sort of taken up the space of the executive authority. And rather than being tepid and timid in the way of executing the mandate of the American people and the will, he's actually showing us what that authority looks like.
This is not the will of the people. They wanted inflation to go down, not for a gut reno on literally the only house that every kid in America recognizes. Also, I love that they can both claim he's not an authoritarian in one breath and then say he's showing us what authority looks like. It would be like if she had said, and the great thing is he's doing it so fast. That's his style. I guess you could call it fastism. And if demolishing the White House to build a gilded vanity project wasn't already on the nose, Trump is also considering ordering his own government to pay him hundreds of millions of dollars.
President Trump demanding that the Justice Department pay him close to $230 million to make up for the federal investigations into him. That's according to the New York Times, which President Trump confirmed in the Oval Office just minutes ago. $230 million, that's more than twice the estimated value of the stolen jewels from the Louvre.
He's doing 2 Louvres. Trump is responding to the massive and historic No Kings protests with 2 cartoonishly straightforward examples of kingly behavior. The last time Trump engaged in such blatant corruption, he was impeached. This time, he should be forced to leave the White House on
an emergency naked bike ride.
This has been a closer look.